My name is Cassie, also known as KnittaCass, and this is my YouTube channel where I talk all about my knitting adventures, my learning, my triumphs, finished objects, and share a little bit about the ins and outs of my life, and also encourage mental health and habits to take care of yourself. And now more than ever, I've learned how important that is, and I want to encourage others to do so. Since the last time I podcast, my personal world and the world at large has kind of drastically changed. I'll talk a little bit more about my personal stuff that has happened at the end. But, we're all learning what our new normal is with this COVID-19 pandemic, and wearing face masks in public, and the shields at the grocery or at the gas station and at the grocery store with all the lines, and the civil rights movement, some of the energy, I should say, towards cops and law enforcement officials. But for now, we're just going to put that aside. We're going to grab our favorite beverage. I've got my Pepsi, and grab some knitting and just talk a little bit about some of the things that I have been working on and some of the fun projects that I will be working on over the summer, so you'll get to see them with me. I'm hoping to start podcasting. I'd like to do it weekly, but realistically it'll probably be every other week. I'll probably be doing it on Fridays. I can have my husband take the kids somewhere, maybe at the pool, at the in-laws, and just have a nice quiet space where I can talk to you without a bunch of background noise, although you may be able to hear the cars going by. We live on a family farm in Vermont, but we also live right on a very busy road, so it's a lot of bit of country and a little bit of traffic and city life. So first thing is finished objects. So I'm going to show you some things that I have finished. So these are a pair of socks for my son Wyatt. Nope, I lied. These are a pair of socks for my youngest, Weston. He's the baby of the family. So these are just normal vanilla socks, so it's a 2x2 ribbing. It's knit one for the rest of the way. I did, because it's self-striping yarn, I went back and did an afterthought heel. I did it by the Curvy Worvy tutorial on YouTube. I'll try to link that below. And I think they turned out good. They fit them really well. They've been blocked, but they have not been worn yet. And this colorway is called Blew My Mind. And it's by Lollipop Yarn. So that's finished object number one. I finished a pair of socks for me. These have not been blocked, so before they're blocked, if you do an afterthought heel, the sock itself looks really kind of funny. But when it's blocked, it'll give it that nice sock shape. So this is my fake blocking here. So these are a pair of socks for me, and the colorway is vintage. It looks to me like what I would explain as a dusty rose color, and then it's got a muted black, or you could call it a dark gray, with a little bit of light gray and a little bit of sage green. Very, very pretty. And then it's got this kind of speckled look into the dusty rose, which I super enjoy. So these have not been blocked. These are for me. These are also vanilla socks. That for me is a 2x2 ribbing. I like short socks, so I usually do either 10 rows of ribbing or 15 rows of ribbing. And then it's just knit and an afterthought heel. So that's number two. Finished object number three. These are for my son Wyatt, and he likes the traditional, what I call long socks, and most of the world call regular socks. So they've got a pretty tall leg. This is also with an afterthought heel, but it's unblocked, so it's got that nice crisp look to it. And I always mess up the colorway, so I'll do my best. And if I murder it, I'll try to write it down below. So I believe it's Whiskey Bound and Hell Bent. This is also by Lollipop Yarns. So all three of those socks have been by Lollipop Yarns. Finished object number 3. Okay, so this is the most exciting finished object, and it's a little too hot to keep it on, but I will put it on so you can see it. So I started this sweater probably a little under a year ago. I got to a certain point, I ran out of the correct yarn, I waited for the correct yarn, I thought I found it, and I finished knitting it. And as you can tell, it's not the same. So this was the original yarn. It's a Lion brand yarn. It's acrylic. I got it at Walmart. And then this yarn up here is also Lion brand and acrylic, and I don't remember the colorway. And then the back is all the same one color. So it's got a split hem. It's got this nice cable here. I think someone calls it, I've heard it called a fisherman cable, and I've also heard it called a horseshoe cable, so I'm not sure. And it's got the little cable here, a little cable here, and then it's got this awesome detailing on the sleeve. This pattern is the Find My Way sweater by Tristan of Dragon Horde Designs and Dragon Horde Yarn, and it is my favorite, but it's a little too hot to wear it today. Alright, I believe that's it for finished objects. No, it's not. I have another pair of socks that is living in my Joy in the Stitches bag with my summer sock camp pin from the Crazy Sock Lady, which I'll talk a little more about later. So, these socks, I was going to knit for me, and then my daughter saw them, and I got this genius idea of, like, she might really like those. So I asked her if she liked them, and she said yes, and I said, okay, they can be for you. And I just finished them a day or 2 ago. So this is the finished socks. They're shorties. The ends have not been woven in. The pattern is the Rainbow Connection by Kay Litton of the Crazy Sock Lady Designs in the Crazy Sock Lady podcast. I'll try to put a picture of my daughter wearing them because she makes them look really good. So recently my daughter has decided to come out and let us know that she is gay, and we have been having a lot of discussions this month because June is Pride Month about what that means in the community and some of the things that, although I'm not anti-LGBTQ plus, I think it has now, I am not always aware of some of the things that are going on in that culture. I think because I'm not part of that culture. And so I have been learning a lot from her this month, and she got a nice pride flag to hang upstairs in her room. And I thought that because these were rainbows, that would just be perfect to kind of tie into that. So they now have a sentimental value. So that's finished object number 2, 3, 5. I believe that's it for finished objects. All right, work in progress. Where shall I start? So I have a Cozy Memories blanket. It's probably, it'd be about the size of a skinny lap blanket right now. So I've been working on that. I have a lot of yarn to put into it, and because I'm in the middle of a square, I didn't want to bring it out and have a chance of losing the needles. So that is in my room right now, and maybe I'll show it next time. I'm also, when I wrote my show notes, Rainbow Connection Socks was a whip, but it's now an FO. And then I'm working on my DVD. So Desert Vista Dye Works is a indie yarn dyer, and they do fun colorways. Are usually based off of movie characters, but sometimes book characters. and also TV show characters. And she was doing this thing called Summer Movie Bingo. No, yeah, Desert Vista Dye Works Summer Movie Bingo. And so it's a knit along, and you get a little bingo card that has the little colorways, and you get two bigger minis. So this one is called The Mountains Are Calling Me, and then the second one is wound up, and this one was called Go to the Sea. So you have those two that you can choose if you want to do any part of the sock, or if you want to do the cuffs, heels, toes. So you can kind of make them up as you go. And the idea is she gives you this list of different movies that are summer-like themed that you can watch. And as a certain event happens in the movie, you can knit the associated color. Or you can do it by how you're doing your summer. So if you were going RVing, you could knit with the RV color. If you were having a bonfire, you could knit with the fire pit. So you have 14 minis that have different colorways, such as fire pit, ice cream, parade, skinny dipping, booze, trying to think, sharks, summer love, national park. And then it also came with, so the bingo card I showed you, and it came with a thing of popcorn for your movie. And it also comes with, I think I took most of the stuff out, but it had a keychain that looks like a flip-flop. It had a lollipop that was a butterfly. It has a progress keeper that's sunglasses, 10 of those light bulb stitch markers, a notepad, a pencil. Am I missing something? Oh, and the needle cozy. Yes, I am missing something. I think my needle cozy is in another bag. This needle cozy. So it's pretty cool. It's got, you know, red, white, and blue colors, so it looks like the 4th of July. And it's got sunglasses. It's got these nice buttons, and oops, I guess I have some needles in there. And on the inside it has a movie reel and popcorn, which is pretty cool. So that's been a lot of fun. I'll show you what I've been working on. So these are my Summer Movie Bingo socks, and they're basically going to be monster socks, I guess is the word for it, which means there's no real pattern of how many rows or what types of colors, and everyone that bought this kit is going to have unique socks just to themselves. So I started with Go to the Sea, then Booze, Fire Pit, Ice Cream, I think this is the beginning and end of summer, Parade, I think that's Booze again. I don't remember. I wrote it down though. I did write it down. Okay. So I was correct that this is Booze, Fire Pit, Ice Cream, End of School. Oh, this is Fire Pit again, Booze again, Summer Camp, Parade, and I did not write this one down. But I might have a little sticker tag in here. Or maybe not. But what I've been doing, because I might use that color again and not remember what the color is when I'm done using the color, I'll keep it wound in the little ball, and I'll use one of those light bulb stitch markers, and I'll use it like a safety pin, I'll pin the tag. So this one is ice cream. So hopefully I can find that tag. And this is also a vanilla sock, so I'm doing 2x2 ribbing, and then the rest is just knit, knit, knit. And I have it on these 9-inch circulars. And this is the first time I've tried 9-inch circulars, and I'm completely in love. Whoops. I'm not sure it would be good for pattern knitting, but just for vanilla sock knitting, it is amazing. It just flies. You don't have to worry about where you are. You don't have to worry about your row count. You don't have to pull out a needle and then like slide stitches over. It's pretty awesome. So I'm loving that. and I am excited to see what it's going to look like. My plan is to knit all the way to the toe based on like what I'm doing. So is there a fire or swimming, that kind of thing. And then cut in for the heel with I haven't decided if I'm going to cut in with the heel with the coordinating go to sea, or if I'm going to use the mountains are calling me for the heel. But I do know whatever I do for the cuff and the heel is going to be the same in the other sock. But the other sock's going to be completely different because whatever I'm watching or doing is going to be different than right now. So they're going to be some really funky socks, and I can't wait till, you know, when it gets a little dark and dreary and it's winter and you're kind of feeling blah because you're stuck inside, to put on these wacky socks and just kind of cheer me up. And it might make others laugh, so that'll be fun. So there's that. Sorry about the crinkling. My next whip is called the Dotted Ray Shawl, and this is a pattern by Stephen West of, I think it's West Knits. He's pretty popular, and he makes really funky things. In fact, he has this pattern called the Flanket, or Star Flanket, and it's basically blanket sized, and it starts out, if I understand correctly, like a shawl, only the stars in the middle, and then you have like triangles of colors coming all across it. It's really gorgeous. Okay, so this is called the Dotted Ray, and it may not look like much, even though I've worked on it quite a bit, because if you've ever worked on any of his patterns, there gets to be a point where you have a lot of stitches. So let's see if I can show it off. So it's decent sized. You can see the holes on it. Those are what are supposed to be the dotted rays. So starting in this corner, they're coming off, and it's supposed to kind of look like a sunshine. And this colorway that I used is called Social Distancing. It's got stripes of pink, purple, and blue. And it was a special one-of-a-kind colorway, and I think it's by Bobolink Yarns. Shoot, I'm gonna have to put it in the bottom. So my local yarn store is Notion Craft, or Notion Craft and Sew, and they had a trunk show for this yarn dyer, and they take leftover yarns that people aren't using, or leftover wools that people aren't using, have it spun, and then they dye them. And so you're not always going to get the same fiber content, but it's pretty neat because every skein is going to be unique. And so in this skein, every 6 feet is a splash of color, and that was just kind of a satirical way to commemorate when we had the stay-at-home order, and if you were to go out, it was 6 feet. And so it came out at the very beginning of the lockdown for COVID, and it just really helped to kind of make fun of the current situation, which sometimes is a good coping mechanism. And then this brighter color down at the bottom, I have no idea what it's called, but I got it from one of my Knit Crate membership yarns, and I love how bright it is, and I thought it would tie right in. So there's that. I also dyed 2 skeins of yarn. I'm not sure if I brought it out. It might be in this bag, actually. No, it's not. So I'll have to put a picture in, but in my last month, because I did a little bit of budgeting and minimizing, so I have canceled my Knit Crate for now, but the last crate, they sent blank yarn where you could dye it, and some Kool-Aid kits and a video link. And so I dyed 2 colors. One was called Blood Orange Margarita, and it's got some really bright pinks and some deep pink reds, maroons, oranges. I guess not maroon, but like a tropical pink and orange combined. It's really gorgeous, so I called it Blood Orange Margaritas, which is my new favorite drink. And then I also knit one that I was trying to make a rainbow, and I used I used to decorate cakes quite a while ago, and I have a lot of those little vials of, it's like the jelly coloring for frosting that bakers and cake decorators use by Wilton. And so I used some of those, and I was trying to make a rainbow, and it came out pretty good. I mean, it's definitely a rainbow, but it's a little more on the darker side. And I called that Pride in honor of my daughter, dedicated it to my daughter. And it was just a really fun process. So I'm thinking, not that I in any way want to make a business of it, but I think it would be a fun thing to do every now and again for fun, because it brought me a lot of joy. And so those two colorways are going to be added to this shawl. So this shawl is going to kind of be my scrapbook, my yarn scrapbook of this year and some of the things that have happened. So there's that. And it's, I don't know if I showed this in the last podcast. Oh, I didn't, because my birthday happened. So this bag is by my mother-in-law, Julie, who has an Etsy shop. And she sews all sorts of bags, different configurations, pockets, sizes, materials. I'm not sure if she takes custom orders online, but she's been taking custom orders from family. And so this is the knitting bag that she made me. It's got a handle here. It's got a strap here, which I can take off if I want to. It's got sloths because, as I'll tell you a little bit in my personal life story later today, I needed to really have some reminders to slow down and take it easy. And that was her kind of nice teasing way of reminding me. It also snaps here, and there's a little band that it goes into. Like so. So you can hold it like that. It looks like a nice little satchel. It's got two pockets, two roomy pockets, and one zippered pocket in the center. Super gorgeous. She's made bags for everyone in the family now. She also is making bags for tip-up storage for ice fishing. So I will link her shop down below, and quite honestly, I didn't know that she had an Etsy shop. I thought she was working with like a company and doing it all that way and then just being nice to her family. But it turns out she has an Etsy shop, and I'd like to promote her, so I will put her link down below, but I'll also, when I edit, try to remember to put the name of her shop here. She's wonderful. She does amazing work on bags. So there's that. Let's see. I do have one more work in progress, and nothing has changed because I probably have shown it to you. So this is the owl from Harry Potter. This is his body. This is where his legs are going to go. This is where his tail feathers are. He needs a head and he needs some wings. And it's really thick, bulky yarn that I'm using. And so it hurts my hands when I knit on it too long. But I do really want to get it done. I was just going to knit it and have it just like give it to my youngest. But his birthday's in August, and I think it'd be really nice if I could get my act together and finish it secretly, which might be another challenge, and give it to him for his birthday, because he had picked it out of this wonderful book called Harry Potter Knitting Magic. I had borrowed it from the library. That's the owl. I'm making it, color-wise, he's a bit different than what she suggests, but I always change patterns a little bit. And so this is now my copy because my kids and my husband bought it for me. And oh, I probably shouldn't show. It does have paid for patterns, so I shouldn't probably flip through the pages, but the front cover gives a really good idea of what's inside, and it's just gorgeous. And it is by Tanis Gray, Diana Walla, sorry if I'm missing your name, and Dana Williams Johnson and more, and they collaborated and made this great book, and it's just bringing me a lot of joy looking through it. And eventually I want to knit everything in it, but I know that that's not going to happen anytime soon. So maybe I can finish this owl. Alright, so there's the headless owl. Nearly Headless Nick will be so upset that he made it into the Headless Huntsman Club. So, new acquisitions. So, I did not have this bag when I last podcast. This bag is by Joy in the Stitches. I'll try to link her below. She is on Instagram and she has an Etsy shop. This bag has like faux leather on the bottom. It tends to sit really nicely. It doesn't sit open, but it doesn't completely fall over like some other knitting bags I've had. It's butterflies, which is part of why I love it. It's got nice detailing on the inside, and it's just the perfect size. Then I also showed you that I have this pin. So the Crazy Sock Lady is having a knit along, and it's all summer long, and it's called the Summer Sock Camp. And she goes on Instagram, I think she's been doing it weekly. So weekly she'll come up with a tutorial video that'll come up that has to do with knitting socks. She goes live on Instagram weekly to kind of check in and support and just chat with us. She also has Ravelry. She has a chatter thread, and you can pick what cabin. So like we're trying to make it like a virtual camp. So there's cabin DPN, which is the double point needles. There's cabin 9-inch circulars. There's cabin magic loop, which is something I haven't learned yet, but I think I'd like to try this summer. From the sounds of it, you need a pretty long cable. So it's a circular needle with a long cable, but with sock knitting size. So I use like a 1.25, I believe. And I haven't quite understood the logistics, but I believe she made a video for it, and I'm not sure if it's posted or if it'll be posted later, but that's something I'm going to try to learn. And then she has an other category for all the other types of knitting that you can do. So everybody's included. She's got lots of prizes, so you should go ahead and check it out. She's also got merchandise. She's got stickers. She's got the pins, and she has some mugs as well. So that's been fun. Oh, and my ChowGoo 9-inch circulars. So this is these 9-inch needles. They're ChowGoo. Those are a new acquisition. They've got a really thick red cable. So I was afraid. I have used circular needles that were kind of small, not 9-inch. And I think I was knitting a baby hat, and I was pulling and creasing so much that I broke the cord. And I think it was just a plastic cord. Like, I'm not really fancy, and I don't tend to spend a lot of money on these things. So I got some ChowGoo, and they really weren't as expensive as I expected them to be, and they're worth their money. They are so amazing. And then I have another set of double pointed needles because I am going through this phase of knitting socks, and I need more needles because I need to knit some socks. So these are Knitter's Pride carbons, which is something that I am really, really enjoying. That's what I knit most of my socks on. Excuse me for my reaching here. So I have this necklace here, but it's going to be really hard to see it. And it's a key, and on the key it says Believe, and I got that from my mom for graduating nursing school. And then I got this gorgeous necklace. I don't know what stone that is, but it's got a stone, and I think that's rose quartz for the heart. It's got some little tassels. It falls perfectly like right about here, and the craftsmanship is amazing. It's got a really nice chain. And these are from a wonderful jewelry designer who I happen to know quite well because she's my sister. Her name is Katrina, and she owns the Baslow Designs jewelry company. And I'll link her below too. Oops, I'm making a knot. And then also she made this This is a real butterfly wing, and it's been dipped in resin with a little pearl bead. And I had one, but I broke it, which was on me, not the manufacturer's fault. And so I have another one to replace it. And I just think it's so neat that she's using nature that way. And by the way, the butterfly was dead. Like, she didn't kill a butterfly to make the necklace. Like, she found a dead butterfly and thought of a new way to make joy. Let's see. This is another necklace from Baslo Designs. And this is the Tree of Life. And it's got this really nice blue stone on it, and again a really nice chain. So that's Baslo Designs. I often will wear some guitar string earrings. Those are also from her, and she is an amazing guitar player. And then my last two, so I've got these two bracelets. This is what it'll look like on your wrist. This one's not fastened. This is labradorite. She's probably laughing because I'm totally like murdering the names, but it's a nice gem that's pink, and it's got some darker colors in it, and I love pink. And this is on guitar string. I don't know how to show that. And then this one is just gorgeous. I love it because of the baby blue, and it's got like what kind of looks like clouds or stars in it. So those two are also from Baslo Designs. And I believe that's it for acquisitions. Yep, it is. Okay. So I guess now to get to the elephant in the room. So I have always had anxiety and depression. I think it started when I was a teenager. I'm not exactly sure, but I know that I've had it my entire adult life. I've been, at the beginning of my life, I didn't really take care of it very well. Didn't really talk to anybody about it. And then quite a while ago, 12, 13 years ago, I started going back to counseling, and I started going on medication. And I did tell my doctor that I thought I was bipolar. The doctor at that time gave me like a little screening questionnaire. I didn't score enough. She thought, I don't think so. We talked about it. I got put on an antidepressant. I was on that for a while. Speed up a few years. That one didn't work. Tried a few different things. Finally found one that worked, but every time life got hard, I would go back to the doctors and want a boost or an increase. And so we did that, and I got to a pretty high number, and it stopped working. Like, and not just the meds. Like, I also was doing some bad things. Not, I guess bad things is a bad word. I also was neglecting to take care of myself. So I was the yes person. So if they needed somebody to fill a leadership role, I'd say yes. They needed somebody to do some volunteer work at the library, I'd say yes. They needed someone to do scouts, I'd say yes. They needed someone to do Destination Imagination, I'd say yes. Now mind you, I love that one. And quite honestly, I found joy in all of them, but I just kept saying yes and putting more and more on my plate. I have 4 active kids. We were doing sports. I was working on the weekends. I was working night shift. So I was hardly sleeping, and then during the week I couldn't figure out when to sleep. So eventually everything just piled up, and it got to be way too much. We also lost my husband's cousin, who was a really close friend of mine, and she was young, and it was unexpected, and it hurt, and it still hurts. So everything came crashing. So I had a mental breakdown. Like, I've never had one before. I thought I did, but compared to this, it wasn't. And I needed to be hospitalized. So I was hospitalized for 10 days before I came back home. And it turns out I indeed do have bipolar. And I know that bipolar has a bad name. So hopefully I can be part of the movement to change that stigma that bipolar does not mean you're a bad person. It does not mean that you're, crazy. It does not mean that you make poor decisions. Can it mean some of those things? Sure, situation by situation, case by case. But bipolar itself does not mean any of those things. So I get the diagnosis, I got some new meds, I went through some intensive therapy, some cognitive behavioral therapy and dialectical behavior therapy. And through that process, I learned a lot about how to put me first, not in a neglecting way towards my kids, but in a way where I'm not going to say yes about everything, or that I'm empowered to say no if I'm too busy or I can't do it, and feel that in saying no does not make me less than. A lot of my driving thoughts were that if I said no, or I backed off, or I didn't do something, that I was less than, or that I wasn't accomplished or successful. I also thought that my value was based on what I was putting out in the world. Now that as a blanket statement makes sense. Like, am I spreading love? Am I teaching love? Am I trying to be a good person? Yes, that's valuable. But what I had in my brain was I needed to be busy all the time. I needed to do laundry as soon as possible. I needed to do the dishes as soon as possible. I had to hurry up and get this done so I could get 4 other things done all before dinner, or else I wasn't successful. Whew. Yeah, that was exhausting. I lived like that for years. So I'm learning still. It's been since March, so this happened right before the stay-at-home order. I'm still learning how to take care of myself. I'm still learning how not to pressure myself. But one of the things that was happening that is quite interesting, and I decided to be a nice kind of PSA, is that I always had like the hurry up or something bad's gonna happen sensation, like hurry do it, hurry do it, hurry do it. And I felt this impending doom, I guess is a good way to say it. So I felt like panicked and rushed. And I had several thoughts going on at once, which I thought was just my personality. But turns out it was my mental illness, and it was really taking a toll on me. And with doing things for myself, so I make time for myself, like on purpose. It's scheduled every day. I'm exercising and eating better, but I think I'm eating better because I'm feeling better. Like, I used to have a bad day, want junk food, do something good, and felt like, yeah, I deserve junk food. Couldn't sleep, eat junk food or a jar of peanut butter. Like, things are changing, and it's still going to be a work in progress for a long time. Oh, excuse me. In fact, I think we're all work in progress. So, kind of like in the knitting world. And we need to be okay with that, and we need to be willing to learn and to change. And so it's been a big learning curve for me, and I have changed a lot. Not necessarily me, but how I talk to myself and how I feel about what I did that day. And it's helping me feel better. And so I guess it's just a nice reminder to, take the time for you. Don't always say yes. It doesn't work. It doesn't make you better. It doesn't make you more successful. It doesn't give you more value. It breaks you. So really evaluate that. But also, if you're feeling like that nagging sensation of anxiety, impending doom, racing thoughts, that's not type A personality. That's what I thought. That's not type A personality. And so it would be a good idea to let your doctor know. And it's okay to get help. It's okay to have a diagnosis. It's okay to have a label. What's not okay is to judge people because of that. And I'm hoping that through dialogue and being open about my story, that I can empower others to feel the same. Because it's been very important and very helpful for me. And part of the reason I wasn't getting help is because I thought this was just the way I needed to live. So for anybody who's feeling like that, it's not. So please go get help. Enough of my soapbox. I am feeling so much better. I don't have headaches every day. I don't have stomach aches every day. I don't have acid reflux. I don't have to use my inhaler. I'm physically stronger. I still look like an overweight house mom, but I'm stronger. My muscles are stronger, my body is stronger, my lungs are stronger, my brain is stronger, and I'm willing to take that and run with that instead of beating myself up about how I look. My kids are noticing a difference, my husband's noticing a difference, my in-laws are noticing a difference, so hopefully we can keep doing this. And I've also been doing a lot of reading, so as from the first episode, I've been talking about how I'm going to share my reading list with you, and I think I only did that once. So since March, since I've been home from actually I started in the hospital because I did a lot of reading there. So in the hospital, I read a book. What was it called? I can't remember the name of it, but it was the 4th book in the Outlander series by Diana, I'm going to murder her last name, Gabaldon. Really amazing book. Loved it. It was like this thick. And I read it in like a week. But it was really good. I also had a lot of free time on my hands. And then I also have read the entire series so far of the Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah Maas. And it, from what I understand on Google and in the last book, there will be more of them in the series, but there isn't yet, so I look forward to that. I'm also still listening to the very last book, Kingdom of Ash, of another series by Sarah Maas called the Throne of Glass series. Very, very good. I am rereading Harry Potter, so there is a podcaster I watch called Nitty Natty, and she is doing this challenge, her and her husband, and she invites everybody to join, and it's just for bragging rights, no prizes, but it's super fun. And what she's doing is reading one of the Harry Potter books in a week, so like book 1 in 1 week, and then watching book 1 or movie 1 that weekend, and then there's a couple catch-up weeks in there. So I'm not as fast or as motivated. I guess I'm not as motivated to read them in a week, but I'm definitely enjoying rereading them. So I'm currently halfway through book 3. And there's a lot of things in it that I had forgotten, or some details I've forgotten, and I am just so enjoying it. It's been a really good escape from the world, and it's been kind of like rekindling that Harry Potter magic that I have. I'm also reading a book called Stay Sexy, Don't Get Murdered, and this is by Karen Kilgariff and Georgia Hardstock, I hope I said that right, from a podcast that I listen to. So it's an audio podcast called My Favorite Murder, and what they do is they research and provide information on the full story as much as is available up to date on different murders or serial killers, or one time they did one about these hikers that disappeared in Russia. And so it's really interesting. They use a little humor with it. They don't make fun of the murder, but they do have some jokes thrown into it as a way of coping, and it's pretty interesting. And just their banter back and forth and the way they talk about life is just really funny, and I really enjoy listening to them. I also like this podcast, Will Kill You. I'm so behind on it. I've not been listening very much to podcasts, and it is by 2 scientists, and I'm trying to think what they are. So they're very specialized, so they have their PhD, and I can't remember, one's in something and one's in the other something, but they're both named Aaron. And they talk about different diseases and its history, like through the times, and its history in terms of what we know and have learned through science, how it replicates, how it infects you, how the treatment works, what's going on in the body. And so it really suits that like knowledge seeking that I have, but it's also about biology, cells, and viruses, which I'm super, super interested in. And then I've also been listening to Ologies, which I'm also very behind in, and that is by Allie Ward. And she connects with a person who is a specialist in their field, and it can be any different field, and talks about different things that they do. And one of her catchphrases that I really like is to ask smart people dumb questions, and that's how you get smarter. And so I haven't listened to her lately, but there's been things on bones, there's been things on dinosaurs, moths, sexuality, like you name it. Like she just goes all over and touches base on anything. So I believe that's it. So I ask you to leave me a comment below telling me what is bringing you joy lately, and there will be a winner announced in a couple weeks when I do my next podcast. Thank you. Happy knitting. Stay healthy.